identical properties. That means identical property means that shows similar chemical properties and they are identical in mass. Their masses are same. Their masses are same and they are identical in chemical properties. They show similar chemical properties. So if we consider an atom, if we consider an element X or Y or Z like that, there will be atoms are in X, Y and Z. If we consider the element X, all the atoms in X are identical in mass and they show similar chemical properties. That is the third postulate. What is the first postulate? All matter is made up of tiny particles called atom. All matter is made up of tiny particles called atom which took part in chemical reactions. So the next point is atoms are indivisible particle. Why? Because atoms are very small particle. How will you say that atoms are very small particle? Because the radius of the atom is in the range of nanometer. The radius of the atom is in the range of nanometer. So which cannot be created or destroyed in a chemical reaction. So this postulate results in law of conservation of mass. What is law of conservation of mass? Mass can neither be created nor be destroyed in a chemical reaction. So the third point regarding is that atoms of a given element are identical in mass and chemical properties. So for a given element, the atoms included in the element shows identical mass and similar chemical properties. What is the fourth point? Atoms of different elements have different masses and different chemical properties. That is why I say, if we consider three elements X, Y and Z, if we consider X, the element X, all the atoms in the X shows similar identical mass and similar chemical properties. All the atoms in the Y, element Y, shows identical mass and similar chemical properties. All the atoms in the element Z shows identical mass and similar chemical properties. But if we consider X and Y, the atoms in X and the atoms in Y shows different masses and different chemical properties. The atoms in X and atoms in Y. And if we consider Y and Z, atoms in Y and atoms in Z, as we compared an atom in Y and as we compared an atom in Y to atom in Z, they shows different chemical properties. They show different the chemical properties are there and different mass. They have different mass. So that is why in the fourth point it is clearly said that atoms of different elements have different masses and different chemical properties. But if we consider an atom in the same element, it shows identical mass and similar chemical properties. If we consider atom of different element, it shows difference in mass and different chemical properties. Atoms combine in the ratio of smallest whole number to form a compound. Simple. Atoms combine in the ratio of small whole number to form a compound. This postulate, that means the fifth postulate, is a result of law of conservation of not law of conservation of mass is the second postulate, and which results law of constant proportion or law of definite proportion. Atoms combine in the ratio of small whole number to form a compound. So atoms combined to form a compound. So which results in law of definite proportion. What is the sixth point? The relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. The relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. In a given compound, the relative number and kinds of atoms are constant. So these are the 6 points related to John Dalton's atomic theory. What are the points are there? All matter is made up of tiny particles called atoms which took part in chemical reaction. Point number 1. What is point number 2? Atoms are indivisible particles which cannot be created or be destroyed. So why atoms are said to be indivisible particles which are small particles? How will we say that atoms are very small particles? Because the ratio of the radius of the atom are in the range of 10 raised to minus 9 meter, that is nanometer range. So the radius of atom is in the nanometer range. 1 nanometer is equal to 10 raised to minus 9 meter, that is equal to 1 by 10 raised to 9 meter, which shows that atoms are very, very small. So we can say that atoms are indivisible particles. The third one is atoms of the given element having identical mass and similar chemical properties. Vice versa, atoms of the different elements having different mass and different chemical properties. So atoms combine in the ratio of small whole number to form a compound. And the relative number and kinds of atoms are constant in a given compound. So these are the atomic theory related to John Dalton. So as we know that element, there will be a lot of elements are there. The mass of the elements are expressed in terms of atomic mass unit. The mass of the elements are expressed in terms of atomic mass unit. In physics, it is clear that all the masses are expressed in SI unit kilogram. Why, therefore, there will atomic mass unit here? Because elements, if we consider atoms and elements, it is very, very small, tiny particles. So we can't express in terms of gram or kilogram, that mass in grams or kilograms. So here we use another unit called atomic mass unit. What is mean by atomic mass unit? Atomic mass unit means the mass which is used to express the mass of the elements can be expressed, the mass of the elements can be expressed in terms of atomic mass unit. So atomic mass unit. Atomic mass unit. AMU, or otherwise it is simply U. Atomic mass unit is AMU or U. What is mean by atomic mass unit? The mass of the elements can be expressed, mass of the elements, mass of the elements can be expressed in terms of atomic mass unit. Mass of the elements can be expressed in terms of atomic mass unit. What is 1 AMU? 1 atomic mass unit is equal to 1 by 12th mass of C12 atom. C12 means carbon. C12 atom. So 1 by 12th of mass of carbon 12 atom is 1 atomic mass unit, or 1 U, 1 AMU, or otherwise you have to say that 1 U, 1 atomic mass unit. So the mass of the elements can be expressed in terms of unit called atomic mass unit. The mass of the atom cannot be expressed in terms of kilogram or gram because the mass of the element is very, very small. That is why we can use another unit called atomic mass unit. And what is mean by atomic mass unit, or otherwise we can say that 1 by 12 the mass of C12 atom is 1 atomic mass unit. 1 by 12 the mass of C12 atom is atomic mass unit, 1 atomic mass unit. That's all about atomic mass unit and John Dalton's atomic theory. So moving to the next topic called ions. So here we want to discuss about what is mean by ion, what are the types of ions, and also in the topic we are adding the symbols of some elements, So what is mean by ions? Here charged atoms are called ions. Simply we have to say that charged atoms are called ions. What is mean by ions? Charged atoms are called ions. Charged atoms. Charged atoms are called ions. So here compounds composed of metals and non-metals contain charged species. So For the formation of compounds, there will be metals and non-metals. It contains charged species. That charged species are known as ions. So simply we have to say that charged ions, that means charged atoms are called ions. Charged atoms are called ions. So for the formation of a compound, we need or otherwise